Welcome to Football Unspoken, the home of unique football takes. How's it, Josho? So I've got a big boy topic for you today, but before that, I've got a really interesting trivia question for you. So the last English player to win a Ballon d'Or was Michael Owen. But can you tell me how many seasons did Michael Owen score more than 20 goals in?
I'm going to go actually quite a low number here, and I'm going to go 6 seasons.
For the Premier League, he scored a grand total of 20 plus seasons as a Ballon d'Or winner. And that's going to launch me directly into my topic, which is a 20-goal season for a striker a massively underrated stat?
I think it is, but I think it's changed in the last, since Messi and Ronaldo have come around. I think they've totally destroyed the landscape for what 20 or 30 goals a season really looks like for players. Because I do remember in around 2010, around that time, maybe a little bit earlier than that, 2008, 20-goal season was almost the milestone or the benchmark each season. If you hit that, it was a big deal. I actually remember there was an elite club, if I call it that, in the Premier League, where it was the players who had got 10 assists and 10 goals in one season. And I think when Fabregas and Theo Walcott hit it again around that 2008 time at Arsenal, then they were like the fourth and fifth member or something in the history of the Premier League in those clubs, which now there's loads of players actually who've done that. Even in this season, there's plenty. Saka, probably De Bruyne is in there, even his injuries. Cole Palmer's probably in there this season. So my point of being is the number of goals and assists have almost been inflated or diluted. So roving back to your question about is it underrated, I still think it is. But it's not as unique of a feat now as it was a decade ago to get 20 goals a season.
It's interesting you say that, because so the other stat I have here is that Arsenal have the most amount of seasons with a player scoring 20 or more goals, which is 12 seasons. But of those, they only have 6 players. And that's the most amount of players that a team has with 20 plus goals. And the majority of those were Thierry Henry. And the thing that put me onto this is that Alex Isak's only the 5th player for Newcastle to score 20 plus goals a season. And I was sitting there going, like, that's mad, because you see, especially with pundits, when they talk about Chelsea and they talk about Arsenal probably at the beginning of this season, maybe not so much now, but the beginning of this season, and Man United, even now, but specifically before they got Højlund, and when Tottenham lost Kane, all the pundits and all the conversation is, who's getting the next 20-goal a season striker? Can you get a 20-goal a season striker? And I sit there and I'm like, when you're listening to it, yeah, all these teams need 20-goal a season player, 20-goal a season player. But when you sit there and you really look at how many players have scored 20 goals in a season, you start thinking, there can't be that many who've got to do it. Like, there's not that many players in the course of the Premier League who've scored 20 plus goals a season. It's just not, it's not a very big feat, or a very highly achieved feat, I would say. The most number of seasons by a single player is Alan Shearer with 7.
For how many Manchester United players have got 20 goals or more?
I do indeed. There are 6 Manchester United players in 11 and 10 seasons.
That's surprising to me, and actually just hearing you read off those stats kind of shows me why I'm wrong in terms of that. The media has kind of, because that's what I was going to say, I feel like the media, in terms of your Sky Sports and even Talk Sport, the way that they talk about a 20-goal a season player, like Cole Palmer, for example, this year, he's got 20 goals. I think right now he's on exactly 20 goals for the Premier League season. And he's not playing in strike, he's playing in sort of 10 and wide or whatever, which is ridiculous. But I think the way that people are talking about is almost he's overachieved the season, but no one's going, wow, this is like a unique Premier League feat for a midfielder to get 20 goals. Not the only one, but one of a very small club in the history of the Premier League. Everyone's like, oh, yeah, he's overachieved. Ha, Man City, you let go a decent player. And meanwhile, is one of like top 10, then therefore goal-scoring midfielders in a Premier League season. Going back to the Manchester United thing, saying only 6 players have scored over 20 goals in a season seems wild to me, because you think they had Van Persie, Rooney, Tevez, Ronaldo, Berbatov, Forlan. Like, I'm beginning all the ones just before that. Dwight York, and a few of the other strikers they've had before that. So that's been bizarre to me. But coming back to what I was saying, is I feel like the media has had a big influence on that, where ex-pros, ex-players are not maybe giving the respect about the 20 goal a season thing. Maybe it's because their perspective has been warped by your Messi, your Ronaldos, and even Haaland in recent times. But I do think you kind of become, when you get told by the media all the time, oh yeah, he's a decent player, we need a 20 goal a season strike or whatever, your expectations shift over time.
Well, an interesting one for Manchester United, because I know you were talking about in modern football, you feel it's getting a bit easier to get that 20 goal a season. Last time Manchester United had a player score 20 goals a season was 2012, 2013, Robin van Persie.
That's what I was saying. Like, it's kind of surprising, although United maybe have fallen away a bit, and it'd be interesting to look at each of the clubs. I would also be fascinated if you do really delve down into the data to look at like how many goals that strikers contributed to the total, if you know what I mean. Because some, like for Chelsea, I keep harping on about Palmer this episode, but his 20 goals is probably a substantial percentage of their total, where I think Saka is currently Arsenal's top scorer. His goals are probably a lower percentage of Arsenal's goals because they've scored more amongst the team. So that's also maybe become a thing. You've spoken about on the podcast before about how the current meta, if I can call it, of football is a very Pep Guardiola, Arteta style of football. And as part of that style is a lot of goal sharing. Like, okay, Man City have Haaland, but if you look across the team, how many of those players are in around, say, 10 goals a season, maybe that 8 to 12 mark, you're probably going to have De Bruyne, Foden, maybe even a Bernardo Silva, maybe even a Jack Grealish getting in there. So they're going to have a lot of players in amongst that. And even at Arsenal, for example, I think Gabriel is the top scorer in centre-back. I think he's around 5 or 6 and things like that.
Yeah.
Though the current meta lends itself to more of a spread of goals and less of the 20 goal a season. This isn't helping my case, by the way, that it's not as exciting to get 20 goals a season. I'm just evaluating as I'm listening to the statistics come up.
Just to wax lyrical a bit more about Cole Palmer, because honestly, yeah, I know the argument's going to be the penalty goals that he gets. I think it's 9 penalty goals or something like that now. But I think the only other, or at least as far as I can see, I may very well be wrong, but the only other midfielder who've scored 20 plus goals that I can find is Frank Lampard. That's like you said, scoring it from midfield is an outrageous achievement. Even if you're on penalty taking duties, and Lampard was the best one of them all. I mean, to be honest, that would probably be my opinion. I rate him the most, but that's also because I like his goals. There's more of a conversation we can have another day on that one. But I just think, like, the thing that kind of got me thinking about this was, firstly, that Alexander Isak's only the 5th player, and I just got interested as to how many players actually score this. And when I found out how few each club has, and this is, I will say the one thing is, like, Thierry Henry has got 6 or 5 of them. Harry Kane's another one who's got like 4 or 5 of them. Mo Salah again. And like I said, Alan Shearer's got 7 of them to Newcastle. So, like, there are definitely strikers out there who will score 20 goals a season consistently. But I think the thing that people aren't understanding, although I wouldn't say not understanding, but they're not highlighting, is how few players there are who actually do that in the Premier League. Just because you've had Mo Salah, Harry Kane, and Erling Haaland the last couple of seasons, even if you take out Erling Haaland, you've got Mo Salah and Harry Kane consistently every year. Not just 20 goals, 25 plus goals, sometimes 30 plus goals. And you're sitting there going, like, these guys are just outrageously good. They're fantastic, phenomenal. But then because they're getting to those 25 plus goals, these guys who get 20 goals a season, or they have a 20 goal season, they kind of get a bit overshadowed. And I just think there needs to be a bit of a shift in this understanding what 20 goals actually means in a season, how huge that is. Like, there are teams who score 30 goals in an entire season together. Yeah, right. And
It'd be interesting. Sometimes they bring on the actual managers onto some of those review shows. It'd be interesting to discuss with those managers who have a really good understanding of that kind of thing. Like how rare it is to find a 20-goal a season player in the modern day. It'd be interesting just to hear the wording they use around that question, because I think it'd be very different to an ex-player. The managers have kind of a different understanding of those kind of numbers, I guess, and you've analyzed it for years. The one other thing I was also going to say was there's a stat, I think, around at the beginning I spoke about Ronaldo and Messi and how many goals they've got, and that's sort of rejigged everyone's thinking about how many goals are possible or standard. I think you would have to get, it's something like 50 goals every year for 10 years to get near Messi and Ronaldo's amount of goals. So just to try to quantify that every single season for 10 years straight, so from 20 years old to 30 years old, you have to get over 50 goals every single year. That's one over a goal a game for 10 years straight to be near. You wouldn't even surpass them. You would just get in around them. It's madness.
No, it's completely mad. I do think Messi and Ronaldo. I'm looking forward to what football's going to be like in 10 years with Messi and Ronaldo are kind of a bit of a distant memory, because right now everyone does get compared to them, and you see it with Mbappe and Haaland. There's a big comparison, and like you said, their stats are stupid. Like their stats are just entirely ridiculous, and I think that's one of the big reasons why these players who they manage to get 20 goals a season for the first time, it gets overshadowed because it's like, oh, well, he's just got 20 goals. Like, yeah, he's got 20 goals, but like, yeah, Messi and Ronaldo scored 40 every season, or Haaland scores 35.
Sometime this season, Michael Owen said something about if he was playing today against defenders in the league or playing for Man City this season, he would easily have like 30 goals or whatever, which is just kind of funny based on the quote you started the whole episode with. But I'm sure he said something along those lines this season.
Yeah, I'm sure I did as well, because I think it was about the strength of the tackles. I think it was like you couldn't go shoulder to shoulder. It was one of those where he was saying that, and yeah, it is quite funny looking back and you go, he's never had one 20 plus goal season. But I think I just think I would like to know if I've swayed your opinion. I think I have, but for me, it's just this the big thing for me that I would like to kind of take away from it, if people listening take away from it, is this constant talk about all these top 6 teams need a 20 plus goal striker. I think there needs to be an understanding of how rare a 20 plus goal striker is.
Yeah, you definitely recalibrated my thinking around it, because when you first asked me, I was like, yeah, 20 goals a season feels like the bare minimum. But now realizing that it's quite rare. Funny enough, with what I said about Arsenal and Man City, maybe that's why there has been a shift to more spreading goals across the team, because it feels more accessible. When you hone in so aggressively, particularly in a transfer window, we have to go buy a 20 goal a season. There's like 3 of them in the world, basically, across Europe or something that are available. Those clubs know there's only 3 of them. There's Osman, there'll always be one in like Holland for some reason. Every year there's one there. And there's one in Germany or something for some reason. Those 3 clubs are sitting there going, cool, boys, we'll have 150, thanks. And I think maybe there's been a realization you don't want to be held by the balls, basically, for those transfer prices. So you maybe look, can I squeeze out a couple of extra goals elsewhere in my team, 5 more on the wings and 5 more from midfield, then we can afford a 15 million, 15 goals, a season striker. And that would get us to the 25 by improving the amount of goals in other areas of the team.
Yeah, I do agree. I think this shift in football tactics and especially the shift away from the main striker, has been a big impact in that. And I think also trying to find the strikers has impacted how football has evolved. So that's a very interesting insight. But I think this has been a very interesting episode. I've enjoyed hearing your opinions on it. I would love to hear our listeners' opinions on it. So guys, please leave us a comment, leave us a like, give us a subscribe. And from us to you, have a great weekend. See ya.